Welcome to today's episode of Backstage with Randy Phillips. I'm Randy Phillips, and I'm joined by Phillips, Craig, and Dean. Dan, Dean, Shawn, Craig. Oh my brothers. For 30 plus years, we have toured this country and made music together, and it's just been the greatest privilege. The laughter, the tears, you're going to hear all those stories and more coming up. But we thank you for making a place for us on your playlist for over 30 years. Before we start our conversation, if you haven't already, you know what time it is. It's time for you to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If you have anything less than a 5-star rating, don't say anything. This is just 5-star. Now, wherever you're watching from or listening today, tell somebody about this podcast. Who knows? We may even read your comments live on the show. All right, my brothers, you're going to hear some insight today. It may be slightly offensive to some of you. I don't know. Some colorful language, some laughter, some pranks. So it's going to be great. Let's go. Phillips, Craig, and Dean. Dan, Dean, Shawn, Craig, my brothers, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
So glad y'all are here. This is I have a beautiful sister. I never had brothers till I had you. You're my brothers.
So you're saying we're not beautiful or we
No,
are beautiful?
You're not beautiful, but you're my brothers. So I've been, when we started the group, I was in my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, and my 60s. 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
Dan,
20s.
30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Well, not
quite.
Okay. If you round up.
That's,
Where were you? Do you remember what you were doing when I called you and said, let's try something?
absolutely.
Where were you?
I was riding the church lawnmower.
The lawnmower.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you were the music director
Yes.
and
Yes.
maintenance,
Yes.
facilities, yard,
Yes.
all of it.
All of
But
it.
you were making a
But
fortune.
that was when we, oh yes, of course. That was when we had answering machines
Yeah.
with the tapes.
Yeah.
You know, so I was mowing the grass, came in and, Shawn, it's Randy Phillips.
Is that what I sound like?
Randy Phillips, let's make an album.
An album.
Well, I don't think you started there. But
Okay.
said, let's try to do something. Let's come on
What
down
was
here.
your initial thought?
Oh, I thought, I don't want to be country.
What would make you think we'd be country?
Well, because you used to say one of your favorite artists was George Strait.
Well, of course. He's the king of Texas.
So I thought, I don't want to do Christian country.
Did you finish mowing the yard?
I did. I was a good boy.
Where were you when I called you?
Randy, I can barely remember yesterday. I don't know where I was. I do
I called you at
remember the
home, you were doing
conversation.
laundry.
Was that it?
Yeah.
That could have been
He
very
did
true.
laundry
I did laundry.
forever.
A lot of
Them
laundry.
youngins.
So we got together in Dallas, went to Dan's church to a recording studio,
1991.
put 3
October.
songs on a cassette. You remember what the songs were?
I do. Midnight Oil,
You wrote that.
as y'all would say, Midnight All,
Earl.
and favorite song, and
Once more with feeling.
Once More the Feeling.
Once more.
Sing a little bit of Midnight Oil.
Mama liked to burn the midnight oil down on her knees in prayer. And if you ask her why she did it, she said she did it 'cause she cared.
That's
That's
good.
enough of that.
That's
Yeah, I
beautiful
remember we went down the next morning to a recording studio there in the basement.
River Bend or River or something?
Man, I don't
Randy
remember.
Adams.
Randy Adams
was
was
the
produced a
engineer.
little demo with these 3 songs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I went home, and y'all had left by this point, and I stuck the cassette tape in and I played it for my wife.
And she
And
said,
on that
"That's
song right there,
horrible."
she said, there's really something magical about y'all's harmony.
Well, how about
That's really good.
And that was the first time we'd ever sung in that
And those
recording.
demos were rough, I might add.
Yeah.
Very rough.
Yeah.
But unbeknownst to us, Mr. Phillips mailed that to virtually every record company.
Bill Gates.
Every
in the
Christian
nation.
record company.
I was like, you sent it to who?
And I got a call back.
did?
Star Song. They said, come up here. So I went up there. And I wanted to be a soloist. Very disappointed they didn't want me as a soloist. So he said, no.
You needed help.
No. Go get help. That's when I called y'all and sent him the tape. And he said, well, come do a showcase.
Yeah.
I said, I don't even know what that is. He said, it's a little concert. I said, well, we only know 3 songs. He said, well, learn 7 more.
Yeah.
Do you remember that night we did the showcase for
do
5
I?
record companies in a little
Yes.
chapel?
I was sweating bullets.
What was that like?
Oh.
What's your memories there?
Well, what I do remember specifically is what we wore.
What did we wear?
Cardigan sweaters.
Those are back in style.
Yeah,
They have
cardigan
come
sweaters.
back.
I remember this too. As
He
we
probably
walked-
still has his.
I do. As we walked in that night, it was snowing. I don't know if y'all remember. It started snowing. And in the middle of the concert, if you could call it a concert, we had a sound man running our stuff, and it just quit.
The soundtrack?
Oh, yeah.
It just stopped right then. We're just standing up there, and when the concert was over, we went to, was it Tony Roma's Ribs or something?
Yeah.
We were sitting there.
Tony Roma's ribs.
Our
Sad.
chins dragging the
were
ground.
so sad.
We had one opportunity,
We
and
blew
we
it.
blew it. That was
I
all of our
never,
feeling.
and so I never heard back from the record companies. And one day Dan called me and said, well, have you heard from anybody? I said, nope. He said, well, call up there. Just tell them thank you. So I called him. I said, well, thank you for allowing us to come up. I'm sorry it didn't work out, but thanks for the opportunity. He said, what are you talking about? We're going to make an album. I said, we are? Yes. We loved y'all. I said, at what point? He said, well, you know what he actually said? The turning point for us is when your track died.
Is that right?
And Shawn
Never
went
knew
over to
that.
the piano, and y'all just kind of, there you go. So
Swing it.
Shawn's the reason we're here.
Thank you, Shawn.
Before us, though, you had great, you were tremendous. I remember I had your cassette. Shawn wore it out. Holy Lord God Almighty, mighty in power.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he did too.
He had what was that song? Phil Driscoll. I'll be riding with him.
Oh, when he comes back for me.
Oh, that was good.
On a white horse he'll be right. How can I
Damn.
remember those lyrics and I can't remember?
Ours? I don't know. I have the same problem.
Dan had a cassette.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
sold a bunch
it
of them.
went platinum. Aluminum platinum.
What was
There's
one of the songs, your big songs off of it?
did we have to
Proud
talk
to
about
be
that?
Yeah.
a Christian.
Sing a little bit.
Choose to be a Christian.
Oh, choose to be a
Proud to be a
Christian.
Christian. Proud to be a Christian. One of our.
Yeah, that
Sing a little
I'll
bit
tell you
of
one that
Choose
just
to be a
came to
Christian.
mind just
What?
a few days ago. Thank you, Lord, for the sunshine.
That was a good one.
In the middle of the night. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you for the sweet assurance that everything is gonna be all right.
That's good. That's kind of, that's
Little
bluesy.
rockabilly.
Little bluesy.
Kind of bluesy.
Yeah.
So y'all had careers as great songwriters. I remember, Shawn, a lot of your songs, Beyond the Open Door.
Yeah,
Beyond the
great.
Open Door.
Gaither
Remember
Vocal
when
Band.
Christchurch recorded that or
Yeah.
sang it, and I was there at their conference and they did that. You know it in Spanish.
Pasando por la puerta. That's about it.
Well, no, that's not it.
That's all I can remember.
Okay. What do you think was, so
we got together. They didn't give us any money hardly to
30
record
grand.
that album. 30,000.
30 grand was our all-in
That was
budget.
all in,
promotion,
budget, everything. No
promotion.
wardrobe. I had bought something at Sam's that I wore, literally.
And you still have that?
I still have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they got this up-and-coming producer, Paul Mills.
Yeah.
Paul Mills.
And he is exceptional. And the recording studio that he had was unbelievable, blow your mind. Where was that recording studio?
In his garage.
And where was the
Converted
recording
garage.
chamber?
Vocal chamber.
Vocal
The
chamber.
vocal chamber was in a makeshift bathroom, as I recall.
In the garage.
In the garage.
And he had,
Washing
there was a
machine.
washing machine and dryer in there, and he had
Put a
draped,
blanket on it,
he had
yeah.
draped blankets over that, and blankets over the shower, and
We all sang around one mic in
one
those
mic,
days.
and it was on 2-inch tape, and it meant, it's changed so much, but if one person was off, you did it again. And it was over and
Over and over and over.
You remember he would say, Shawn, take a step back or something. Because
Yeah.
you had the bright tenor high
Well,
part.
I had to gut it out to sing those notes.
And where did you end up standing?
Well, I was in the shower, and he'd say, back up. I said, I can't. I'm
it.
I
against the
thought
wall.
he put him up on a commode at one point.
Paul Mills. Paul Mills,
We owe a
Man,
whole lot to Paul.
we
He
do.
did
So
our,
much.
Our first, I want to say first 5 albums maybe. Paul
oh,
did.
he's so good. And off of that first single was Turn Up the Radio. And do you remember one of the marketing guys, I can't remember his name at Star Song, said, we're going to record every major radio's call letters
letter.
in Turn Up the Radio. So we'd say, turn up the radio,
94.1 FM, KLTY.
We can still remember that.
We did that for every station.
Every station
Every
in the country.
reporting station.
It was genius.
It was.
Because they all played it. And the one that right out of the box was KLTY, John Rivers.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember
This is the day
calling-
before cell phones, and
Yes.
I had my wife and I were laying in bed, had the alarm set, and the alarm went off. I had it set to KLTY, and it was playing "Turn Up the Radio."
What was that like?
Becky and I both sat straight up in the bed, and we're like, just couldn't believe it.
First time you'd heard
And
yourself on
I
radio.
immediately called you.
Yes,
Do
you
you
did.
recall that?
I do. If I had caller ID, I wouldn't have answered.
Before caller ID, I said, listen to this. Stuck the phone over on the alarm clock there, and it was
That was so cool.
quite a moment.
And we had a number of number one songs off that album, Turn Up the Radio.
4 number 1s and a number 3, which would never happen in today's
No.
world.
No.
Never.
Remember, we got to do the KLTY Festival, and we thought we had...
It was a state fair.
State fair.
of Texas.
we
State
have
Fair of
arrived.
Yeah.
We've hit
With
the
first
bigs.
First year, they said, we want you to sing at the
Yeah.
KLTY stage at the State
Texas-
Fair of Texas. There'll
And-
be over 2 million people.
2 million people.
Yeah.
And we had one song out, Turn Up the Radio.
Yeah. And
And we drove up there, and I remember seeing that stage, and it said, I think it said Budweiser over. It was just a huge stage. I'm like, oh my gosh,
We have
this is
arrived.
going to be
This is-
incredible. And then they said, well, actually, your stage is where?
First they looked at the schedule. Who are you? we told them who we were, and they said, no, we don't have anybody by that name here. Y'all must be at the other stage. We said, where's the other stage? It's down by the pig barn. So
Swine Barn.
We headed off that direction.
Between the swine barn and the funnel cakes.
And it was a
Oh,
stage
this
that was
is-
probably about
This big.
4 by 8,
The
maybe.
size of my closet at home.
The guy, we were like, where's the microphones? And the guy in the golf cart comes riding up,
Yeah.
plugs them into the front of the stage, and hands us 3 mics. And we start singing, and about midway through the second song, here comes the band.
Yeah, the marching
The
band.
marching band comes right. We just had to stop singing and let them
A
get through.
parade about the same time every night.
We would try to do a ballad or have a ministry moment. Here comes. What in your mind, Shawn, was the tipping point for the group? Like, this is going to be something.
Yeah, man, that's a good question. I think I think when we went to the GMA, I guess it was the next year, and we were nominated for New Artist of the Year, I thought, wow, this might be something.
Yeah. Did we win?
We did not win. No.
It was rigged.
Cindy Morgan.
Morgan nudged us out.
Yeah.
We were robbed.
She's pretty cool though.
She's good.
She had a good career.
What was a tipping point for you? You like, this could be something?
I don't know that I know exactly when that was. I do remember we were on the road and in a van.
Of course.
Many times we've been in a van, even still today. And Randy, I think, started the conversation about what are we going to do if this really takes off? What are we going to do? And, well, what do you mean? Well, we ought to talk about, if something really starts
Because we were all three on staff.
Yeah, we were all in
different
churches. And we had a conversation, and we determined, as I recall in that conversation, we're not going to leave our home churches. We made a decision that whatever happens, that we're going to stay close to the church. And, I think I look back at that decision. There's been times that I've thought to myself, what would have happened had we. Then there's probably more times that I know that we did the right thing, and that being out on the road like some of the artists that we were that were at the same time they were doing 200 dates a year, 225 dates a year. I don't think we would have had longevity had we been doing that, because it's a hard life. Yeah. It's a hard life.
Well, when we made that decision, that was a great sacrifice for us, because it meant whatever concert we did on Saturday night, which is the prime night, you have to get on an early flight. You remember those early flights?
Back in those days, they had red eyes.
Oh, you go at night.
So you either go at night or get up early in the morning, and we flew to our respective cities, and those poor people back home had to be thinking, what in the world?
I remember you'd rent a car and drive 2 or 3 hours to an airport that would get you the time for church.
Yeah.
To St. Louis.
We all did that. That's just what we did,
And kudos to our pastors, senior pastors, Roy Gerald, Jack Dehart, my dad, Kenneth Phillips, that would allow us to do that.
They had great vision to see that we were having an impact in other areas other than their own ministry there.
Yeah.
But now that you're senior pastors, if your worship leader came to you and said, I'm going to be flying out throughout the week, and then I'll try to get here on Sunday morning, what would you say to him?
Well, I hope I do the right thing, but it is different when you're a lead guy.
Yeah, I don't know I want to think I'd have that same grace, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to remember though, we would be gone sometimes for 30 days on a tour. Just come in for Sundays and try to be engaged as a staff member, and
Lord have mercy,
flying on Sunday morning.
How
And
do
those days, I was still wearing a suit and tie. So you get up Sunday morning somewhere on the East Coast.
Philadelphia, always Philadelphia.
Fly in, have a suit and tie on, and go straight to church for a rehearsal. And you've just been at a concert where maybe 2,000 people were there, and you're somebody, and you go back to your home church, and they're looking at you. Who do you think you are?
So your preachers, your singers, if you had to pick one. Yeah, but if you had to pick one, would you preach or sing? You can only pick one.
That's hard. That's really hard. I don't know if I can answer that.
Okay, preach or sing.
I can answer it pretty quickly. I would sing. Dan is
the iconic voice.
I know.
I really do feel like that's been through the years my primary gifting. Not that I wasn't gifted to be a pastor, but I've always felt a little more off balance speaking.
But you have a calling for pastoring. Nobody cares for people like you do.
I do, but I'm talking about preaching.
But public speaking,
Public
exhortation,
speaking,
you'd rather sing.
I tell you what, there's still not a time that I don't get up and speak that I'm not practically a nervous wreck. Maybe this is why the Lord smiled on and said, I'm going to have you be a pastor and have to speak every Sunday, because he knew I would have to closely rely on God.
So you prefer, what is the best moment in the concert for you? The opening song where you come out to a crowd that's anticipating you and it's that, and you get to see them for the first time, or is it the last song where you say goodbye and they usually stand, they're so kind? You have a preference, opening song or ending song?
I would say it's the worship moment. You know, in the last many years, it's been Great I Am, a Revelation song, when everybody's singing.
Yeah.
Everybody's on their feet, and you just feel like maybe it's a taste of heaven for a moment.
You like the entrance song or exiting song?
I would say, Randy, I don't know. There's just the guy that used to coach us, Tom Jackson, talked about every concert has a moment. And there's just, I can think back to so many times where we'd sing Tell Your Heart to Beat Again, and you'd look back at people and you knew from their facial expression, from tears, that you were connecting. And sometimes the same thing happens on You Are God Alone. And I think that's my favorite moments. It's just when you realize you just connected. And when they go home, this is what they're going to remember.
Yeah.
You know.
Dan, you're a great songwriter. What song are you most proud of that you were part of? They're all like your kids, but which one is like?
That changes day to day.
Right now.
How about today?
Right now, probably the one that's just, that I just love singing is Pray Me Home.
That's good. Why is that one so?
And you know, the guy that helped write a lot of our music, Don Cook, has been going through battling stage 4 lung cancer, and recently went up to honor him, and I sang that song that night. And I'll never forget the setting. Yeah, he wrote that with me and Dave Clark, and I never will forget sitting in the chapel with the two of them, and at the church there in Irving, and the chapel a lot like this, not quite as European and beautiful, but we sat at that piano, and there are times when you get through writing a song, you think, that's really special. If to nobody else, to me. It's just one of those that really touches your own heart. Still touches me. I recently sang that song at several places that I've been and today, Randy, here is Veterans Day. The song was inspired by a Veterans Day experience of my dad.
Pray Me Home.
Who talked to us kids when we were little about during the battle, his line would get pushed back. He was a paratrooper, and guys would fall out in the middle, that no man's land. When the sun started going down and the din of the noise would die, they would start calling your name.
Oh my God.
That's how that song was born, is Pray Me Home.
Can you sing a little bit of the chorus?
Whew. Pray me home, pray me home. My heart is so heavy and I just can't go on. Pray me home, pray me home. I need you to help me. Don't think I can make it alone. Pray me home, pray me home.
Oh my goodness.
So how about you, Randy?
I would say Crucify with Christ.
Yep. What a song.
But after that, I would say Tell Your Heart to Beat Again. just because how it's touched people's hearts.
What would be like one of your top 10 concerts? Because I've got mine right now.
Oh man, I would say we did so many great concerts up in Minneapolis. I can remember.
Grace Church.
Oh my word. The first time we sang at the Ryman Auditorium with a full orchestra.
Yeah. I think the big moment, it wasn't necessarily a great concert, but just the moment that was unforgettable was Texas Stadium with Promise Keepers.
Oh, never forget that.
Yeah.
65,000.
Never forget it. It was so. What do you think?
Hearing the guys sing.
I know. What do you think the legacy of Phillips, Craig, and Dean is? Like, okay, they were three men who came on the scene, and what is their legacy?
Well, I think what we hope, right, is that we, and I've heard like Lincoln Brewster and Chris Tomlin say something like this, say that you guys kind of paved the way for artists to be in residence at churches.
Okay.
To not just necessarily forsake the church, not that other artists do that, but just kind of go on the road and that's your life. There are a number of artists now that are in residence and
Yes.
lead worship when they're home.
Yes.
I mean, and of course, Michael W. was a big part of that.
He sure is.
He was an elder at his church and still is. Gets home most weekends.
Yeah.
I hope that that's been part of our legacy, just the love for God's house, love for God's church.
What do you think our legacy is, Dan? What would you hope it would be?
That's a hard question. As a writer, I've always wanted to be a part of, just let me be a part of one song that lives longer than I do, you know?
Yeah.
And hopefully we have a few of those that we've recorded and sang that will be around. It has been, what a journey.
What a journey.
I remember I think I was 34 when this group did its first album. When I turned 40, my wife wanted to throw me a birthday party, and I absolutely not. Do not. She was like, so we go into a discussion, and I admitted I'm very depressed right now. What are you depressed about? All my life I've wanted what we've now accomplished, and it's just about over. Because I was thinking at 40, you know, we got another album or two and we'll be, you know, not relevant anymore and we won't be able to do what we're doing. And I was very depressed. And at every juncture in the road when it seemed like, okay, it's just about time to hang it up, something would happen and God would put us on another trajectory that nobody could explain. I don't think people in the music industry can explain it. They don't have, I think there's an appreciation there. But to see a legacy of 30 years of music and traveling and singing and writing and recording, I think that's a pretty incredible legacy right there. 14 albums or however many we have now, 15 maybe. And
you know, the producers, we had great songs, but the producers are the one, and radio played our music. Who were our producers? Paul Mills,
Phil Nash.
Of course, Nathan Knuckles.
Nathan Knuckles. He's the guy. He resurrected our music. And then Bernie Herms.
Yeah, Bernie. Who was the guy that cooked for us that we were at his house?
Oh, yeah, Mikowski.
Yeah,
Dennis Mikowski.
Dennis.
I don't know what they'll write about us, but I want to tell you two fellas, it's been the greatest joy of my life.
Me too.
Thanks, Randy.
I love y'all.
Love you.
Well, I sure hope you had a great time listening or watching my time with Shawn, Craig, Dan, Dean. Oh, I love those fellas. One thing we didn't get to because of time, we'll do it maybe next time, is how we got the name Phillips, Craig, and Dean. You know what? They said, the music company said, We need a name by this Friday. We couldn't come up with one, so they gave us Phillips, Craig, and Dean. But I tell people privately, the reason Phillips is first is because it's best looking forward, and because it's youngest to oldest. Check out our music. PhillipsCraigandDean.com. PhillipsCraigandDean.com. There's new project, there's Christmas music, there's all kind of stuff. And don't forget to subscribe to the show to automatically receive the newest episodes when they air. Thank you for tuning in today. I'll see you next time.